Please subscribe to this channel for more videos related to Catholic Christian teaching. As the knowledge of the existence of a thing is not possible without some cognition of its constitution, so in the natural knowledge of the existence of God, there is always a certain knowledge of His nature. Every single proof of God reveals a definite perfection of the divine nature. Naturally, achievable knowledge of God is deepened and extended by supernatural revelation. Our natural knowledge of God in this world is not an immediate, intuitive knowledge, but a mediate, abstractive knowledge, because it is mediated through the knowledge of creatures. In opposition to the Church's teaching is ontologism, which teaches that even in this life we possess from nature an immediate, intuitive knowledge of God, and that in the light of the immediate knowledge of God, we become cognizant of created things. The order of knowledge must correspond to the order of being. God, as first being, must therefore also be the primary object of knowledge. The first ontological being, God, must also be the first thing known, according to Gioberti. Ontologism is a philosophical system most associated with Nicolas Malebranche, which maintains that God and divine ideas are the first object of our intelligence, and the intuition of God the first act of our intellectual knowledge. Ontologism is incompatible with the doctrine of the General Council of Vienna, which taught that the soul requires the supernatural light of glory for an immediate knowledge of God. In 1861 and 1887, the Holy Office rejected several ontologistical assertions. Sacred Scripture proves, on the one hand, that the natural knowledge of God is attained through created things by attending to the works, through the things that are made, and on the other hand, that no human being is capable of seeing God immediately, but that the vision of God is reserved for the afterlife. He dwells in accessible light, whom no one has seen nor can see. Now we see Him through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Our knowledge of God in the world is not proper cognition, but analogical cognition. While cognition proper comprehends an object through its own mental form or by immediate vision, analogical cognition comprehends an object through an alien form. In the knowledge of God in this world, we apply concepts gained from created things to God on the ground of a certain similarity and orientation of created things to him as their efficient and exemplary cause. The analogy of similitude between creator and creature found in the fact of creation is opposed by a larger dissimilitude. This so-called analogy of being is the basis of all natural knowledge of God. Our knowledge of God in this world comes by the threefold way of affirmation, negation, and eminence, as taught by Pseudo-Dionysius the Areopagite. Dionysius or Pseudo-Dionysius was a Greek Catholic theologian and Neoplatonist philosopher who wrote in the late 5th or early 6th century AD, and who transposed in a thoroughly original way the whole of pagan Neoplatonism, from Plotinus to Proclus, a set of works known as the Corpus Areopagiticum or Corpus Dionysiacum. The way of affirmation or causality proceeds from the consideration that God is the efficient cause of all things, and that an efficient cause contains in itself every perfection found in its effect. From this, it follows that God, the origin of all creatures, possesses every true perfection of creatures. Pure perfections are formally ascribed to God. Mixed perfections, which contain something finite in their concept, are ascribed to God only in a transferred sense. The way of negation denies to God every imperfection which is found in created things. Also, the circumscription attached to imperfections of created things, deriving from their finiteness. Such negation of an imperfection implies affirmation and eminence. Under the influence of the negative theology of Neoplatonists, certain individual fathers make use of such formulations as God is not substance, not life, not light, not sense, not spirit, not wisdom, not goodness. They do not wish to deny these perfections to God. Instead, they wish to assert that these perfections belong to God in an infinitely higher manner and not in the same manner as they do to creatures. The way of eminence enables us to deduce from the finite perfections of creatures the possession by God of infinite analogous perfections. These three ways of knowledge complement one another, for the attributing of a perfection to God demands the attribution of it to Him eminently, and the negation of every imperfection. God's nature is incomprehensible to man. Our knowledge of God in this world is a composition of many inadequate concepts, and on account of this composition, it is necessarily limited and imperfect. The fourth Lateran Council and First Vatican Council called God incomprehensible, and the Fourth Lateran Council also calls him ineffable. According to the Vulgate Latin translation of Jeremiah, great in counsel and incomprehensible in thought, and according to the Masoretic, great in counsel and mighty in deed. How incomprehensible are his judgments, and how unsearchable his ways. The Fathers, notably St. Basil, St. Gregory of Nyssa, and St. John Chrysostom, defend the incomprehensibility of the divine essence by indicating the infinity and the sublimity of God in comparison with all creatures, against the Eunomians who assumed an exhaustive, adequate, or comprehensive knowledge of God, and indeed even in this world. St. Augustine says, "More true than our speech about God is our thinking of Him, and more true than our thinking is His being." Only God possesses a comprehensive knowledge of God, for the infinite being can be completely comprehended by an infinite intellect only. St. Thomas Aquinas says, "God, whose being is infinitely knowable. No created understanding can, however, know God in an infinite manner." Although our knowledge of God in this world is imperfect, it is nevertheless true, because God really possesses the perfections attributed to Him, and because we are conscious of the analogous character of our knowledge of God and of our assertions concerning Him. Please go to YouTube Retirementality channel, playlist Dogma on God for the complete series of these materials.